Good day and greetings from the Great White North. My name is Prickly Poo and welcome to day 42 of A Year of Change. We're going to finish off our week on a high note. This has been a very deep, involved week for us. In some cases, emotionally draining. And I just sort of want to end on a bit of an upbeat because it has been a very depressing topic for the past week. And we're going to try to not do that again, maybe space them out a little bit more a little bit later. So, I'm going to keep this one short because they've been fairly long videos as well throughout the week. And I figure at this stage, you're just going, and you want something that's a little quick, get you to your weekend, and be able to finish off the week positively anyway. So first thing I'm going to talk about as well, in regards to the long videos, I noticed that I tend to lose focus in a lot of them. There's topics that I start going down a path, and then I sort of go off on a tangent a bit. And I intend to come back to them, and then I just go off on that path for a bit, and then over here, and then over there, and a little bit of everywhere. So I do apologize for that. That's sort of the hazards of doing a longer video, and a topic that is so broad that you can literally have hours and hours and hours of discourse on. And body image is one of those things. And I thought, I could probably make it a little neater by trimming things down, editing out the bits where I'm just sort of standing there trying to think of a word going... But the problem with that is that once I start editing, I'm going to want to do it all the time. And I'm going to start editing out little bits here and there that I don't think fit in properly. I'm going to have to redo stuff and things like that. And it sort of takes away that personal bit. Because when you're having a discussion with someone, it's not perfect. It's not scripted like it is in the movie. There's your conversation is filled with ums and ahs and everything else, and I want to be able to keep that throughout this. I don't want it to come across as a formal presentation sort of thing. I want to keep it more of a discussion, even though it's sort of one-sided at this point. But when you come back into the comments, that you'll be able to, have your say as well. And when you sort of chop things up and edit them, in some cases, it's necessary. You do need it. It fits it much, much better. But in this format where it's just sort of us theoretically, can't even talk. See, normally I would edit that out. Nope, can't be buggered. Keeping it in. So, theoretically speaking anyway, this is sort of a dialogue because I'll say my piece and then you'll get to respond in the comments and say your piece. And I sort of want to keep that. And I feel that if I chop it up and I edit it into just the key points, it'll sort of come across as a bullet point or a lecture, and it really won't sort of open it up as much as it would. I may be wrong, but that's just sort of the feeling I get. So this is just one of those things that I want to sort of keep this way. So unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with me going and ah and not being able to say the word theoretically. So little things like that, I think, are sort of part of, hopefully, what it's going to make this a little bit different. So aside from that, we'll set aside all the stuff for the week. Because, as I say, it was a very heavy topic. I'm sure that there are some people that have sort of come out of this going, oh my God, this is a depressing week. I don't want to watch anymore. But I touched on this, I think in a couple of them actually, that there is a bit of light at the end of it. So it's not all bad. It's not something that you need to worry about, that, oh my God, the whole world's coming to an end. There is some light at the end of the tunnel for us. And for some of you, you may have already started to see it. In that we've been doing this now for 6 weeks. We're at the end of our 6 weeks. We're going to be starting our 7th week tomorrow. And the changes that we've made have made a difference. And I briefly touched on this, I think, in a couple of them, but I just sort of want to reiterate it. Not to repeat myself, but just to sort of wrap everything up in a nice, neat little bow. I was going to say tidy, and it came out neat. So let's go back 6 weeks to where we were when we first started. We were eating whatever we wanted, whenever we wanted, overeating, junk food, sugar, fat, everything bad, just piling it into capacity to the point where we just got lethargic and just wanted to go to bed. Since that time, we've curbed our calorie intake. We haven't really changed substantially anyway, a lot of the foods. That's going to come much, much later. But we made the decision to narrow our calorie intake to what is still, for many of us, myself included, too much. It's more calories than we need in the run of a day, but it's less than what we were eating. As that has gone down, and for some of you, if you've reached the 10-pound mark, then you've noticed that your numbers will drop again by 10 or 20 calories or something. Don't worry, it's not by the 100, so don't worry. But so you're going to notice that that's going to slowly start coming down. Excuse me. So we've made that change. We've added water, which doesn't seem like much, but to many of us, it's a huge difference. Just having that extra fluid going into our system is going to help not necessarily flush things out, but sort of replace at least one can of really high sugary drink like pop or juice or something like that. We started tracking condiments, which for me anyway was a big thing. Since we started tracking it, I don't think I've had mayonnaise at all. It's still sitting in my fridge, but it's one of those things that it's not worth it to me yet. Even on the day that I went over, I didn't have it, which is odd. I should have just had a handful and just hope, which would be really gross, but and no, I haven't done that. So we started tracking condiments, which for a lot of us was a big change, and that sort of curbed how much we're putting on our food. Not necessarily cutting it out altogether, but just, again, watching what we have so that the flavor is still there, but we aren't swimming in it. Last week we started adding a fruit or vegetable, and for some of us we were already doing that with the different snacks and stuff, which I'll get to, but that's a big change for some people that simply don't have any fresh fruit or fresh vegetables in their diet at all. They figure, oh well, strawberry ice cream counts. That's good. It has strawberries in it. So having just something fresh that way, that's going to be a change. And just the nutrients alone you're getting, even if it's just from one a day, is better than what we were doing. Going back to the snacks, there are some people out there that maybe you've done away with a lot of the chips that you've been having. Maybe instead of buying 4 or 5 bags a week, you're down to 2 or 3, or even 3 or 4. Even that 1 bag a week is less. Maybe you've replaced it with the grapes or the pickles or dates or whatever your snack food was, and whatever you found to be, some sort of new go-to that you can actually enjoy and not just sort of choke down like a rice cake. So there's a change there. And we're going to continue making these changes, and some of you may have started to feel this already. Maybe not necessarily a matter of weight loss or, that your size is smaller, that your clothes are fitting better or looser, as the case may be. But there are changes that are starting to go on, and it might be something as simple as, just how many of you out there are to a stage now that at the end of the night, after supper, you're not ready just to instantly go to bed. That you're still up for another hour or two afterwards, even if you still have a snack after that time, but you're not eating the same way. Maybe you have a bit more energy. Maybe you're sleeping better. Maybe you're not waking up in the middle of the night as often as you were. I still do. I've been up since about 4 o'clock this morning, and no idea how I'm going to do the rest of the day because I'm going out with friends, and we're supposed to get together around 6. And I don't want to fall asleep at 8 and be the old man sitting there just going, it's too late. The sun is starting to set. So figure out what I'm going to do there. But maybe your sleep pattern is better. Maybe you just feel better. Maybe your skin is looking better. Maybe, and it could be something really small that you haven't noticed before. Something as simple as, maybe you can go up the steps to your apartment and you're not out of breath as badly as you were before. And although they may seem tiny and insignificant, these are changes that have happened over a very short period of time, in about 10% of a year, when you think about it. That we've been doing this now for 40 or 42 days, including today. We still have another 320 to go. So in that short amount of time, going from where we were 6 weeks ago to where we are now is huge. And so we know that we can go for 40 days or 42. We know you know that you can go that long. So all you need to do at this stage, go another 40 days. You know that you can do it. And the changes that we start making are, over the next couple of weeks are going to be changes that we've already done before. We're just increasing them. We're going to increase our water intake. We're going to increase the fruits and vegetables that we eat. And then we aren't even starting the exercise until week 9. So you still have a couple of weeks. Don't worry. And when the exercise does start, it's going to be as smooth a transition as adding the fruits and vegetable was, as adding the water is. They are going to be very, very small incremental changes. And if you compare even just that small change, like I say, maybe it's just a matter of saying after supper, I can still go out and have a coffee with a friend of mine. I don't feel like I've had supper, so now it's time to go to bed because I'm just exhausted. Even if it's that small change, imagine how it's going to be at day 80, and then at day 120, and then day 160, I'm trying to count by 40s, and then 200, yeah, and 240, and then, it evens out, 240, 280, 320, 360, there we go, and then the last 5 days. Which, no, we don't get to cheat on. And if you're watching this during a leap year, February 29th, you don't get to cheat on either. Sorry. This is the way it's going to work. So maybe we'll do a 366 day just for leap years in case people are watching this at that time. Just to give them one extra day that we didn't really take part in. That might be something way, way down the line. I know I should probably put it at the beginning, but I think that would have to go around day 60 if you're starting on New Year's. And it doesn't matter because now I'm rambling and I'm off topic again. See, again, this is something I should be editing out, but no, I'm going to leave it in. Too bad, deal with it. It's going to be fine. You'll be all right. It's like 10 seconds long. And no longer now because I'm explaining it and then explaining the explanation. So I'll shut up. Anyway, the change that we've gone through so far the past 6 weeks, that's going to compound. We have another, 1/6 because we've got another 6 week gap that we're going through and then another block and another block. So it's going to get easier and easier as we go as well. Because just sort of like thinking of getting a car stuck in the snow or in the mud if you're somewhere that doesn't have snow, or sand if you're somewhere that doesn't have mud. Dry countries and stuff like that, or California at this point. So just getting a car started if it's stuck somewhere, that's the hard part, getting it out of that hole. Once you get it out of the rut and you keep pushing, it gets easier and easier, and eventually it'll keep going on. And that's pretty much where we are. We've gotten out of that rut to that stage now. We're tracking almost everything except for our fluids, which we're going to be starting tomorrow. So drink up, have lots of fun. I'm going to be going over tonight because I do track my fluids. And I know that if we're going out for drinks, there's 300 or 400 calories each for the drinks. So I know I'm going to be going over. So I do apologize. It's going to be the second time I've gone over, but this time it's for fluids and it's sort of a special occasion for them. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. At least it's not the same as me eating, 5,000 pounds worth of ribs, which was really bad. Or 5,000 calories, 5,000 pounds worth of ribs. Oh my God, that sounds like a tremendous amount. You would just, you'd live in the bathroom after that. That might be another change that you've experienced at this stage. And this is going to be a little bit gross. And I don't mean to do this just for toilet humor. But maybe how can I put this? Maybe your intestinal workings, we'll do it that way. Maybe your intestinal workings are a little smoother now. Maybe it's just not necessarily, clockwork, but there's a lot when we overeat. If you're eating a lot of sugary foods and high-fat foods and things like that, there is stomach distress. Nice way of putting it. Intestinal distress, which is a nice way of putting it. Maybe that is alleviated a little bit. And that is something that people are going to notice as well, that, when you start changing the way that you eat, at the very beginning, because it is a bit of a shock to your system, you may not notice it, but if you think back, maybe it's something that, it's, I haven't had as many issues as I had before. Obviously not going to cure anything like irritable bowel syndrome or colitis or things like that. I'm talking about just, issues that have arisen from overeating or eating the wrong foods. So maybe that's something that has changed as well. Probably should attack that at the beginning again. Not going to edit it. Staying on course on this one. So this 6-week block has gotten us out of that rut. And where tomorrow is sort of the final stage of that, where we're going to start tracking our fluids, which is the final stage in that, I said final stage twice, which is now we're tracking absolutely everything. I mean, we've been tracking fluids, but we haven't really been counting them. But we're now tracking absolutely everything that's going into our body. fruits and vegetables, candies, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, fluids, coffee, alcohol, everything. Condiments. Did I already say that? No. So now that we're tracking absolutely everything, that's our sort of our yardstick. So starting tomorrow, we are on track. We're out of the rut completely. So now it's just a matter of keeping everybody pushing at the same time. We aren't at a stage where we can keep going on our own just yet. That's still a long way away. But we're at a stage now where it's not going to be as hard to maintain what we're doing. Once we start tracking our fluids, at this stage, we've been doing it for a week or two. So you have a rough idea where your high calories are coming from in there. And maybe you've already started making changes and cutting back on pop or cutting back on juice, or maybe you've already added more water. Wherever your little trimmings are, and every little bit helps, then it's going to be a little bit easier for you to make those changes in the long run as well. So once we're out of that rut, then the next 6 or 10 weeks, it's just having people push us along. And I'm going to be here to help out. There's other people in the community that you can go to. They're going to be able to help you out. Not necessarily to prevent you from sliding back, because if you've gotten this far, then we've gotten over the really hard part. And the risk of you saying fuck it and quitting at this stage, hopefully anyway, is much lower than it was 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago when you first started. You've gone through an entire month and a week and a little bit more at this stage. And you're to a point where you're tracking everything. You've gotten into a bit of a pattern. And at this stage, the vast majority of us have been tracking every day. You may not have gone under every day. There are going to be days that you're going to go over. And like me tonight, I'm going to be going over. And we know that. But I think we're safely at a stage now where if it does happen, it's not the end of the world. It's not a reason or an excuse for us to quit anymore. It's just a matter of saying, you know what? I screwed up. I went over and I shouldn't have. So start again. And today I'm not going to go over. Don't need to make up the calories from the day before. If you've gone 500 calories over one day, don't cut yourself short 500 calories in the other one. Because at that stage, then you're just going to go in like starvation and then going over it, because it's at that stage, it's very easy for you to say, oh, well, I was 600 calories below yesterday. I can go 600 more. And then you start doing something that I did the last time I started doing this, which is, oh, well, as long as at the end of the week it evens out, then we're okay. No. So stick with it. If you go over, then you've gone over. Like, don't intentionally try to do it, but you're going out with friends for someone's birthday, or if you're going to an office celebration or something. If you can help it, certainly stay below. But if there are times that you think, no, you know what? I know I'm going to go over because I don't want to be the one person that's a stick in the mud and just say, no, I'm sorry, I'm just going to have my rice cake and my glass of lemon water. So enjoy yourself. But just as long as it's not happening every day, then you should be fine. So, for instance, tonight I know I'm going over, but I'm not going to cut things off tomorrow. I'm not going to try to starve myself to make up for it at the end of the week, anything like that. I just know that I'm probably going to be going over. So during the day, I'm being very cautious as to what I eat. I'm not going to have a huge breakfast and then go out later on tonight and have a buffet. So it's, try to keep things small so that when I do go out, I know I can eat it. And if I go over, then I go over. And I may not, depending on what I order, things like that. But it's not going to be something that, well, I can't have this or I can't have that. Again, going off topic. I'm sorry. So I think we're at a stage now that if you do go over, you're not going to say, well, that's it. I'm done. I got to start all over again. And this diet didn't work. I think hopefully we're at a point that if you do go over, then you've accepted it. And we just pick up the next day and keep on going. And just try to prevent it from happening again. And that's all it is. And that's really, I think, a big, big change from so many other diets that you may have tried and diets that I've tried, where you think, well, I didn't follow the diet or the diet didn't work and, I've lost my 10 pounds, so I'll just go back to how I'm eating. So we've made a number of huge changes. I keep saying they're small changes, but in the big scheme of things, they're huge. We've changed the way that we eat. We've changed the way that we drink. We've even changed the types of food that we're eating at times. And for some of us, years ago, I was among you, the water is a huge difference because for many of us, it doesn't taste like anything. So you just didn't bother with it. So there are a number of things, like these aren't just small dietary changes or little things to help you lose weight. These are big life changes that in the long run, a year down the road, you're going to be able to look back and think, my God, I drank 4 or 6 liters of Coke a day. I would sit and eat 2 entire pizzas by myself. And not to sort of look back and go, my God, I was disgusting and gross, but just to look back and say, I've achieved so much. And you have, even just in this past month. In the past 6 weeks, you've done more during that time frame probably than you've done in the past 5 years when it comes to trying to lose weight and change the way that you live your life, and myself included. I've stuck with this longer than I did the last time, I think. And it's just, as long as we stay on target and stay on track and help each other out and support each other, and as long as we're there to say, it's okay if you stumble. You've got people here that are going to pick you up and help you continue on. You're not doing this alone anymore. You're not just sitting back and joining up with a diet that everyone else is doing, but you have no one to talk to. And although the Weight Watchers thing, the community that they have there is very good, this is sort of similar, I guess. So it does work for people, but these are the same sort of things I would imagine that they're probably doing as well. It's just not just watching what you eat, but changing the types of foods and things like that. And as I say, as we progress, I realize I'm rambling and straying off topic, so I'm going to try to focus again. As we progress, then the types of foods that we eat are going to get narrower and narrower. We're never going to cut anything out altogether, but the amount of fat and sugar and cholesterol and carbohydrates and all that stuff that we do, we are going to start taking notice. I can't imagine that's going to take place before 6 months, though, just because I don't know the first thing about it, and I want to make sure that I'm used to it first before I start bringing it into the program. So the same thing with the exercise thing. I have yet to start it myself, and I want to have a week of doing it before I bring it into the program, so that I'm not just saying, okay, well, we're starting and I don't know where to go from here. I want to be able to say, here's what you can expect. Here's what a good starting point is. Things like that. I always want to try to be about a week ahead of where we are here, just so that I'm not giving you something that I wouldn't do myself. I've done it for a week before I get you to try it. So before I'm going to start rambling, this is another long video. I do apologize. We're now sitting at over 20 minutes once again. So we're going to try to cut things back down to around 15 minutes a day. Unless you prefer these longer ones. Although I tend to ramble and stray off topic. And in this one we talked about poop. So you can sort of figure out which is more important, the short time or more topics, but it's a bit of a trade-off. But for right now, thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked it, please poke the like button for me. And in the meantime, keep yourself warm and fuzzy, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.